going to go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our 11th grade parent and learner information meeting. We have a lot to present and look forward to. So again, these slides will be posted on our website. So if you have any further information, all of this will be readily available for you after the presentation. Okay, I think we have our PTSA President, Chris Thornhill, in here. Okay, or maybe not. Okay, so if you are not already part of Portola's PTSA, we encourage all of you to join, to be able to give back to our school community. They have an Instagram as well as a Facebook, so go ahead and follow them. And I believe on our website, there is a way for you guys to join PTSA. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to our mental health specialist, Maureen Muir, and she's going to go ahead and talk about some personal and social resources here on campus.
Hi, everyone. I am Mrs. Muir. I'm the mental health specialist here at Portola. So I'm just going to spend a couple minutes talking a little bit about the importance of mental health and resources that are available on campus and then also in the district. So pretty much at Portola, what I do is kind of a variety of different mental health services. So a lot of what I do is maybe crisis assessments, some mental health check-ins, and helping families get linked to different case management services, doctors, therapists, community resources. So that's the kind of what I do. And then we also have a project success specialist who we are in the process of hiring someone new right now, and they provide some small group counseling kind of focused on resiliency skills and just building coping skills. So let's talk about mental health very, very briefly, which is a huge topic, especially right now. We here at Portola, and well, everywhere in the world, and especially here in our district, you know, we are seeing a huge increase in mental health concerns in our students, just a variety of all different mental health. And I picked these two pictures because I think parents have, you know, stress and mental health concerns, and then teens have some similar, and then some other just overall stress. Especially for all of you 11th graders and 11th grade parents that are all here. 11th grade is a tough year, and we are, you know, we're still transitioning back to being full-time in person, even though it's been a month, but you do need to kind of work on giving yourself a break, because we still are getting used to being back in the classroom and getting used to all of our tests and quizzes and things that we didn't have, you know, the amount of for the last year and a half. So give yourself a little bit of, you know, kind of a grace period, because we are seeing a lot of students that are really struggling with their mental health. And we want to make sure that we kind of look at the bigger picture and what's going on today and our stress that we're having today. It may not matter, you know, in a month from now, 3 years from now, but so sometimes we do need to kind of put things in perspective. But parents, I do want to acknowledge just a little bit that if you at all are concerned about your child or your teenager, please reach out to us, and I'll kind of talk a little bit about resources that are available. So here in the district, we do have myself, mental health specialist at every middle school and high school here in the district. We also have what's called the Urban Family Resource Center. That is another mental health resource that can either provide low cost therapy, but also can help you get linked to other services. I can help facilitate that process also. We are getting ready to start some parent workshops for the district. I'll show you a flyer on that in a minute. And then we also have this great service called Care Solace. So Care Solace is just a straight case management service that can help you get linked to mental health services and help you navigate what can be a very difficult process to get your child to help or get your family help also. If you are concerned possibly about another student and you don't necessarily, you want to stay anonymous, but you want to make sure that someone's following up with the student, We do have in the district, we have an anonymous reporting system called Say Something. There's 3 ways on there to report. They have an app, you can call their hotline, you can go on their website and report an anonymous information, and then we follow up on every single tip that comes through. So there is a lot of different options if you're either concerned about your own child or maybe your child's friend or something like that. So 2 things that are going on right now in our district. The first flyer on there, our Irvine Family Resource Center is getting ready to start some parent workshops. That one of them is through a partnership with Chalk, and another one is one of our licensed therapists in the district. They are about recovery for parents and just kind of getting back into our new normal and help support with that. And then the other one is more about building resiliency in youth. So if you are interested in either of those, you can contact the Irvine Family Resource Center, or you can also send me an email or anyone on this team, and we'll make sure to get you that information as soon as possible, as those are getting ready to start next week and the week after. The second program on here, I highly, highly recommend. It's our partnership with the Tilly's Life Center. So that is the nonprofit part of Tilly's, the stores, but they have this wonderful program. It's going to be starting October 7th. It's for 7th through 12th grade, and it's just about coping skills, resiliency skills. So if you are a little concerned about your student, but you're thinking, well, I don't think they need therapy, this might be a good go-between. It's group focused, and they have a wonderful curriculum. You can see on there the different topics they're going to cover. And again, if you want any additional information, please reach out and let us know. I think I got one more slide. Okay, last slide. Sorry. If you are looking for any extra parenting tips, parenting support, these are 3 books that I highly recommend. The Gift of Failure is just going to talk about the importance of letting our children fail, which I know is so hard as a parent, but we do. That is how we teach them resiliency skills, and it kind of walks you through different parenting skills. The Scaffold Effect is great about, they're just very, very practical information for parents and how to adjust your parenting style as your teenager grows older or kind of moves through their development. And the last is How to Raise an Adult. So if you, again, are not into reading books, but you do want some help, the How to Raise an Adult also has a wonderful TED Talk. So you can Google that and get that information. So my last bit is, if you are concerned, if you need help, if anything, please reach out to us. We don't know that your student is suffering or having a hard time unless you let us know. So please come to us. We have very high confidentiality. We can hold all of that information. It doesn't necessarily get out to teachers and everyone. So please reach out if you need any help or if you're concerned. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Muir. All right, so this is our 21-22 Portola counseling team. As you can see, we've added a few new faces. So the alpha may have shifted a little bit, so please have your learner follow who their counselor is according to this alpha case load. Okay, so I mean, this is the question that all of our learners should be starting to think about, especially in their junior year. Where is it that they are headed? So you can see here that there are different avenues. We have our trade vocational schools, the community college route, four-year university, and we're going to be touching on all of these avenues in this presentation. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about factors to consider when creating your college list, which is what we're going to talk about later today. These are just a few factors to consider. So thinking about location, if you want to stay in or out of state, what type of learning environment is best suited for you as a learner, cost, because we know that college can be expensive, different majors, campus setting, and admissions rate. Okay, so location. So as learners, right, this is your chance. Some questions to think about when building your college list is how close to home do you want to be? Do you want to be able to commute, live at home and commute to your school? Or are you planning to live on campus in a dormitory or an apartment? Or are you thinking about going out of state, right? If that is an option, and you got to factor in out of state fees, right? So we kind of have broken down the map as far as whether you want to stay on the West Coast, Midwest, Northeast, or the South. Okay, and then you want to think about what kind of environment. So there's 3 types. There's the urban, suburban, and rural. Urban, UCLA is a great example, right in the middle of a major city. If that's going to be the type of setting that you are comfortable in, or you can think about suburban. Cal State Fullerton is a great example. It's a little bit of suburban life, but there's definitely that college life. Or are you interested in kind of going a little bit more rural? I know Cal State, I think Channel Islands, so this is out in Ventura, so it's really just a college town. And think about all these factors if this is something to consider when looking at colleges. All right, and definitely majors is a huge factor when building your college list. Start thinking about what are your favorite schools and subjects. Where are you really strong, whether it's at the science, math, the STEMs majors or STEM subjects, humanities subjects. What do you like to do when you're not in class, right? What kind of classes do you want to take classes in many different subjects or focus mainly on one subject? And then, thinking big, farther down the road, what is it that you see yourself doing after college as far as a career, and which majors can help you get there? So really want to look at different majors for the future. Okay, and then we have the learning environment. So you can see here UCLA is a large research university. So there are over 30,000 undergrads. So you're probably going to be looking at larger lecture halls. So anywhere between 300 to 400. Are you comfortable with being in a type of learning environment like that? Or are you looking for like a smaller liberal arts school like Pomona College where there's only 1,600 undergrads? So that setting's probably going to be similar to high school where you're one of 30. So think about your learning style. Are you comfortable in a larger setting or in a more smaller, intimate setting? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pass along to Mrs. Gibson, balancing your college list.
Thank you, Ms. Eprez. Hi, everyone. So as Ms. Eprez was talking about all of that useful information, the reason why we want to bring all of that to your attention is because now is the time that you want to start building your college list. And when you build your college list, we want you to look at 3 different schools or 3 different types of colleges that you're going to be applying to. So one would be safety schools. So those are going to be schools that definitely you would get into. Those could be community colleges like IVC, and really schools that are below your average GPA. Then there's target schools, which would match to your GPA that you currently have. And then reach schools are going to be schools that are probably in the top 4, 5, 6%, or even higher. So we really want a wide range of colleges when you're building your college list, and we really want it to be balanced. So as I talked about for safety schools, so these are going to be schools where your GPA and test scores are well above the average scores of that particular college. So we really want you to look at every school that you're applying to, but we really want you to look at if you could see yourself attending that school. As Ms. Eprez said, if you really enjoy a large environment, but you're applying to Pomona College, you may not like that type of environment because you want more of that social piece. We recommend when you're applying to safety schools, the recommended amount is about 2 to 3. And as I said before, community college is a great safety school. Okay, so target schools, again, this is where your GPA and test scores are very similar to the average GPA and test scores of the college. And then we also recommend about 4 to 5 schools to be picked for your target school. And then the reach schools, this is where your GPA and test scores are below the average of the college. Colleges consider more than just GPA and test scores, so that's something to keep in mind when you are looking for your reach school. And we want you to really apply to as many as you can reasonably handle. Now, remember that for certain schools, the requirements differ and the essays differ, so we really want you to be mindful of that. You have a lot going on senior year, so really keep that in mind when you're applying to colleges. Okay, we're going to look at some data. So this is UC freshman application data. This is from fall 2020. So this is, we're going to look at UCLA in particular. So as you can see for UCLA, they had little over 108,000 applicants that applied to UCLA. They admitted a little over 15,000, which gave the admittance rate about a 14.4%. And the average GPA was a 4.18 to 4.31. So this is very high. So for some students, UCLA may be a reach school. But if you go down to, let's say, UC Riverside, that may be more of a target school if your GPA is a little lower. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at the UCs and applying. And now we're going to look at the UC transfer application data. So these are students that attended a community college first and then transferred over. We again will look at UCLA. And you could see the admittance rate went up to 27% and the GPA went down to a 3.69 to 3.96. So this is important to keep in mind if your student, if your child has, their number one school, let's say is UCLA and they don't get in to UCLA immediately, they have a higher chance of getting in from transferring from a community college over after a couple years than getting directly into that school. Okay, and so this is Portola High School's class of 2021 graduation data. So as you can see, about 60% of our graduates went to a 4-year, 25%, which is about a quarter of our graduates, attended a 2-year first, and then 14% and really 15% are unknown or other colleges. So as you can see, when I mentioned before about a quarter of our students attended a community college, this is where they ended up going. So the majority went to Irvine Valley College, which is really right in our backyard. Some went to Saddleback, and then the others would be, maybe OCC, Cerritos College, Santa Ana College, Santa Monica, or, wherever else they decided to go. Okay, now we're switching gears and we're going to look at Cal State acceptances. So this is combined data from the class of 2020 and 2021. And again, this is self-reported data that students self-reported through Naviance. So when we're looking at the average GPAs of Cal State's, we're looking at the unweighted GPA. So as you can see, it's a lot lower than the UCs, and the acceptance rate is a lot higher at Cal State's. And this is some more information. So there are 23 Cal States across California. So this is broken down by some. And as you can see, some of them have a higher average unweighted GPA that is needed to get in just because of impaction. And the acceptance rate is a lot lower than some of the others. All right, so impaction. So as you're getting ready to apply to Cal State's, you may find that a certain campus or undergraduate major you're considering is impacted. And so that means that there are more applications from qualified applicants than there are available spaces. So for the left-hand column for Cal State University eligibility, this is for students that have met the 2.5 GPA that is needed. And these are the schools that are not impacted on the left-hand side. So Stanislaus, Maritime Academy, East Bay, Bakersfield. Then in the middle is campus impaction. So this is where certain majors are impacted on these particular campuses. So it's important to keep that in mind when you're applying. And when you're applying to an impacted major or an impacted campus, we want you to apply for admission during the initial filing period, which is October 1st through the 30th. And then on the right-hand side, those are impacted colleges in every single program. So across the board, San Luis Obispo is highly impacted because it's a very sought after Cal State campus. And as when you're looking at the data from the previous slide, you can see that the acceptance rate is a lot lower than some of the others. Okay, so now we're going to look at UC acceptances from Portola's class of 2020 and 2021. Again, this is self-reported data from Naviance. So let's look at UCLA again. The average weighted GPA of students that got in had a 4.31 to 4.45. Now, I want you to keep in mind when you're looking at this data that just because it is saying that that is the average weighted GPA, that is not to say that you have to have a 4.31 or higher to get accepted into UCLA. Keep in mind that when you're applying to UCs, they look at you holistically. So they look at you as the whole picture of who you are as a person and a student and a daughter or son and everything else that they're looking at. So they really want to know who you are as a person. Okay, now I'm passing this over.
Okay, so SAT and ACT testing. There's been some changes recently in this, and now UCs and Cal States are test blind, meaning they will not consider SAT or ACT scores when making admissions decisions. So if your learner is only applying to UCs and Cal States, they would not need to take these tests because they will not be considering them when making admissions decisions at both of these schools. For private and out-of-state schools, the majority of them have adopted a test optional policy. So if you're considering any of these schools, you may want to take an SAT or ACT if you believe that the score may kind of help you out in your application. So again, looking at kind of the average test scores at that school, if you think you can fall in that range or maybe higher, then you may want to consider taking that test. The PSAT National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test will be on Wednesday, October 13th, and all juniors are already registered. They don't need to do anything, just come to school on the 13th and we will be administering that test to them. This is a great opportunity of all the entrants, some 50,000 students nationwide with the highest scores will qualify for recognition in this program and possibly earn scholarships. So here's the main differences between the Cal States, UCs, and private and out-of-state application process. The Cal State is the most straightforward application. There's no essays, transcripts aren't required to be submitted upon application, no test scores, and no letters of recommendation. So that is basically the most straightforward application. UCs also do not require to submit transcripts upon applying or test scores or letters of recommendation, but they do require 4 out of 8 personal insight, basically essays, questions to be answered. Private and out of state are the most involved type of applications. Learners can apply for these schools mostly through the Common App or Coalition App, or independent applications for schools that are not on either of those platforms. Their essays are required for the majority of those, and they do need to submit transcripts, and they do test scores. Again, as I mentioned, they're test optional. So they do not have to submit test scores. It is optional. Letters of recommendation, it depends on the specific college you're applying to, whether or not you would need a letter of recommendation. Think should I share my screen? Let's see. All right, let's see if I can. Oh. And then we'll pass it off to Mrs. Markowitz.
Perfect. Thank you, Mrs. Murphy. Hi, everybody. So community college is an excellent pathway for students to take. And as Ms. Gibson had mentioned previously, about 25% of our graduates attend community college directly after high school. There are over 100 community colleges in the whole state of California, and some that are right in our backyard are Irvine Valley College, Saddleback College, and Orange Coast College. Community college is super affordable. in terms of cost. If you are a California resident, the tuition and price per unit is very affordable. It's also a great opportunity. A lot of times students aren't sure what they would like to major in. And so regardless if students attend a four-year college directly from high school or a two-year college directly from high school, all students will complete general education requirements in English, math, history, and science their first 2 years. So by students attending community college and fulfilling those general ed requirements, they really have time to kind of decipher what it is they want to pursue as a college major. And typically it takes students about 2 years to complete their general ed requirements. And then they have, statistically speaking, have a higher probability of getting into those four-year colleges, maybe that they weren't ready to go to, or maybe they couldn't get in directly from high school. There are fantastic guaranteed.
You'll be working on writing drafts for your college essays during the spring semester of this year. So here are some important deadlines coming up or in the college admissions process. So next year, October 1st through 30th is the submission period for Cal State schools. November 1st through 30th is a submission period for UC schools. And November through January is a general timeline for the private and out-of-state college deadlines. November usually is for early action or early decision applications, and then all the way through January for a regular decision. So in March, all of you will be meeting with your counselor to cover the following. We're going to discuss your post-secondary options and the college application process in detail, so that when the time comes for you to work on your applications in the fall of your senior year, you already have a really good idea of what it entails and what's coming your way. We're going to work on inputting a balanced college list on your accounts, and we're going to give you some tips on writing your personal statements. We will also work on planning your senior year courses so that you are all set for your senior year. So, and be sure to attend our next parent workshop, where we're going to talk again about an overview of the college app process and the requesting letters of recommendation and transcripts. And we're going to preview what to expect for senior year. So there'll be a lot of information this year so that you are well prepared going into your senior year for what's coming ahead. And now I'll pass it off to Ms. Ranchipo.
Thanks, Mrs. Murphy. Hi, everyone. So a couple ways that we can support your learners through the counseling office is with our College and Career Center. We have two staff members that help with specific items. First is the College and Career Coordinator. This person is TBA right now. They will be hired shortly. They help with college admissions information, answering questions on applications, things like that, standardized testing, college visits, advertising when we have them on campus, which your students should hopefully be well aware. We have plenty on campus virtually this year, but we advertise through Instagram, on our Google Classroom, things like that, and then also scholarship information. Another way students can, learn a little bit about their career interests and future would be through our ROP career specialist. This is Mrs. Escoto. She helps with after-school ROP registration, career tech ed pathways, as well as work permits. So when students want to get a job, they'll see her. All right, so I mentioned ROP. This is a really beneficial way for learners to explore career tech ed through classes that they might not be able to take within their normal 6 core subjects. So these are career technical education classes that help them kind of understand a future career. So some of the benefits include they can earn grades and credits towards high school graduation. They can gain experience for immediate employment. They can also participate in courses that offer internships, but they must be 16. And they can also experience careers, which will help them with their college and career planning process. They can test out if they really enjoy a career pathway, or maybe it's not for them, but it's a really good experience to see what it's like within a certain career pathway. And many of these courses help with career industry certifications, maybe leading to a job right after high school, as well as meeting college admissions requirements. So we offer many different classes throughout the district. So some of the classes that students can sign up for include the following. You can see a large list, for example, administration of justice, if a student is interested in law enforcement or becoming a lawyer, things like culinary arts, fire science, sports medicine, and more. So lots of awesome opportunities. Some of the courses do offer internships. Again, you must be 16 to participate, but these classes offer a traditional class setting for part of it. And then the other part, students get to participate in an internship at whatever site they're working with. For example, if a student chooses the animal healthcare internship, they would be able to help work within a veterinarian clinic or veterinary office. So they will be able to assist a vet within helping animals, playing with puppies, seeing the good and the bad that goes into that career. So it's a very good way to get hands-on experience and learn from somebody who's in that career field. So another thing through our ROP specialist is a job skills training program. She helps students just become prepared for maybe interviews, resume building. She'll offer different workshops throughout the school year, which will advertise in our various means. But if students are wanting to obtain a job and learn about how to proceed through that process, she will be a great resource. All right, so now we're going to switch over and talk about money. How are you guys going to pay for college, or hopefully not have to pay too much? So financial aid comes in a variety of types and sources. So first, some of the aid might come from federal government, the state government, institutional, which would be from the university or institution itself, or private outside organizations. Some of the types of aid include scholarships or grants, which do not have to be repaid. A work study, which is where a student would work on campus, maybe part-time hours, and that helps provide income to the student. And then loans, which those must be repaid. And then when you are looking, oh, sorry. Can you go back? Thank you. When you guys are searching for colleges and you look on the admissions website, each school should have a financial aid page, which will have a net price calculator that will help you determine in an approximate manner what you are expected to contribute and what your student might earn from these different sources. So check out the admissions and financial aid page of the universities that your student is interested in. All right, so this is a breakdown of tuition and fees versus a resident and a non-resident. So this comes from last school year, so pretty recent. So you can see the difference between Irvine Valley College, a Cal State, a UC, and then a private school. So for example, if you start at the top, Irvine Valley College, a resident pays a little over $1,000. And then Cal State around $7,000, a UC school around $14,000, and then a private school, which in this case is USC, around $60,000. So you can see the difference in resident versus non-resident. Non-resident fees are drastically higher for the Cal State and UC schools. The private schools do not pay any different. It's resident versus non-resident is the same. So this graphic is really useful. It will help explain the differences of what you can be expected to pay for somebody who lives on campus, off campus, or if you are able to live with family but near the campus. This is an example from San Diego State University from last school year. So a student that lives on campus with all of the tuition fees, room and board, books, supplies, other, which includes like transportation, things like that, is estimated around $30,000. If you live off campus, that's where you can save a little bit of money because potentially an apartment might be cheaper. So you can notice the room and board is significantly cheaper, but the remainder of the fees are similar. So the total cost is around $26,000. Living with family is potentially the cheapest option because if you're not paying any rent or room and board, that's where students might save the most because the tuition is always going to be the same, but whether you pay for rent, room or board, those would be the biggest differences. All right, so when we break down the total expenses, that's what the institution puts as their sticker price. So you can see Cal State Fullerton, for example, $21,000, UC Berkeley around $38,000, and Stanford University around $72,000. So if you are filling out your financial aid information and you are earning financial aid, scholarships, loans even, that will help reduce the cost. So the average amount of aid that a student from a Cal State Fullerton, for example, was around 7,900. A UC student was around 17,000. And then the Stanford student was on average given around 51,000 in grants or scholarship aid. So the main idea behind this is, even though the initial cost might be very expensive and like very concerning, with the help of scholarships, aid, etc., the price that you end up paying might be a lot lower than expected and similar to another institution that you didn't consider. And then universities on their website will have something similar to this, where you can see a net cost information or calculator. This is from Stanford University. So the average net cost that a student or a family might be expected to pay. This is from last school year. So based on household income, this is what the university would expect the student to be responsible for. So you can see the lower end up to the higher end of what would be responsible for the student or the family. All right, now I'm going to pass it on over to Mr. Ichon.
The joys of Zoom. All right, let's do this. Okay, so if you look at a school like UCLA, you'll be able to factor it in by average net cost depending on your income, right? So you can get a sense for how much it costs, the acceptance rate, the overlaps with other schools. And then if you scroll down, this is the gold, right? You'll see, right, what the averages are in terms of our students and their average GPAs. This is where Buster's GPA is at. So you'll see this little icon and where we stand in comparison to other schools nationally. So as you can see, this is a moot point for the UCs because they no longer consider the SAT or ACT. But this kind of shows you where our students are at based off the national average. And that's also reflected on our school profile. If you click on admissions, this once again shows you all the awesome data from our students. So it gives you the most accurate picture of what your students or your chances are as juniors. So you can start looking ahead and planning ahead. And so as you can see for 2021, 216 applied and 20 accepted. So it's been right par for the course in terms of UCLA and how difficult they are. And then here's a scattergram where you can compare your weighted GPA with the GPA of students at the school. So once again, as Ms. Gibson mentioned, that's where it's important not to put all your eggs in one basket and apply just to the most selective schools. You could kind of filter down and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, even a 4.2 got in, but as you can see, even a 4.4 didn't get in. And that kind of speaks to the holistic process. As Mr. Gibson also mentioned, it's not just about the GPA. There's a lot of other factors that go into play in terms of the extracurriculars and how involved they were. And so take this data with a grain of salt, okay? Another really cool feature of Naviance is going on virtual college visits. So if I click on here, as you can see what's new right here, you're gonna see all the college visits. Johns Hopkins is coming October 1st. And if you click here, you'll be able to see all of the colleges that will be visiting virtually. And the really good part about visiting here, they're going to be visiting on times where your students are on break, or juniors, if I'm speaking to you, you're on break. So it's totally, you'll totally able to make it. Just put your headphones on so that you're able to listen to what the admission speaker is saying. But a lot of these these admission representatives are regional representatives, meaning, right, if this person from JHU is coming to our school, they're most likely going to be the first pair of eyes on your JHU application. And so even as juniors, you can already start going on these virtual college visits. If you click on more information, you'll be able to click register and then register yourself for the visit, which is pretty cool, all through Naviance. And then last part of it is if you go to start building your list and colleges I'm applying to, now you can see basically an overview of all the colleges you've added onto your list. You can favorite them and then what you need. And so what's cool about this is that if you click on Compare Me, it will show you your GPA. So this is based off the weighted GPA. And then it'll show you the average GPAs of the schools as well as the acceptance rates on the right-hand side. So once again, this is all Portola data. And then this will give you an idea of which schools would qualify as a safety school, which qualify as a target or reach school, okay, and helps you balance your list. And then in terms of filtering your list based off your preferences, if you go to Supermatch, college search, click here, and now, right, you can filter out based off of your preferences. So let's say I just want to be in a California school. I don't want to live too far from home, but I like the city life. So I'll click on that. And then I'll click on academics, right? I'm just looking to go to a four-year school, and then the acceptance criteria. Now what it'll do is that it'll show you the data once again, as well as the costs. And then you can now filter out the colleges and start building your list this way. And by doing this, everything you need is all in one place. And when you click on colleges I'm applying to and compare me, everything is there, okay? For data, because I know that we don't have as much data as other schools, that's completely fine because we're still a new school. If you go to Niche, this is my second favorite website because it will show you college rankings. And a big part of that is college rankings based off of different criteria, based off of your major too, right? So for engineering or biology, so if I click on here, let's say I want to look for schools in architecture because that's what I'm passionate about. It will now give you a list of the top schools across America or across California for that matter. And then you can start building your list and adding them to Naviance that way. So let's say SC, all right, alma mater, click on here. You can get information about the school, their report card, what else they're good at in terms of different rankings with different majors. They have their own scattergram, although it won't be as accurate as ours on Naviance. And you'll see Yelp reviews at the very bottom in terms of students who gave it a 5 stars or 1 star. So Niche and Naviance, get on it throughout the year. Talk to your counselor if you have trouble logging in. Parents, you also have access. You should have received an email giving you a registration code for Naviance. But if for some reason you don't have access, please let us know and we'll make sure that you get it. But 2 excellent resources.